The Battle of the Persian Gates was one of the most challenging and strategically significant engagements of Alexander the Great's campaign against the Persian Empire. Known as the Thermopylae of Persia, it was a fierce encounter fought in the winter of 330 BCE that tested Alexander's resilience, strategic genius, and determination to conquer the vast Achaemenid Empire. This battle was more than a clash of armies. It was a testament to Alexander's adaptability as a commander and his relentless pursuit of Darius III, the Persian king. The road to the Persian Gates. After his stunning victories at Issus and Gaugamela, Alexander had secured most of the Persian Empire's western territories, including Babylon and Susa. Each victory brought him closer to the heart of Persia, and he now set his sights on Persepolis, the empire's ceremonial capital and symbol of Persian authority. However, the road to Persepolis was not without obstacles. Between Susa and Persepolis lay a formidable natural barrier, the Zagros Mountains, where steep passes and narrow valleys made any invasion perilous. One of the most dangerous passes in this range was the Persian Gates, a narrow mountain corridor with high cliffs on either side. This strategic location had served as a natural fortress for centuries, and the Persian forces, led by Ariobarzanes, a Persian satrap, governor, were well aware of its potential. They prepared an ambush that would exploit the narrowness of the pass, turning it into a death trap for any army attempting to cross. The ambush, a trap in the mountains. Ariobarzanes had gathered a force of approximately 700 warriors, significantly outnumbered compared to Alexander's army. But he understood the tactical advantage of the terrain. The narrow pass would limit the effectiveness of Alexander's cavalry and prevent his army from advancing in a wide formation. By positioning his troops on the cliffs and along the narrow corridor, Ariobarzanes created a perfect ambush point where his soldiers could rain down arrows, rocks, and spears on any advancing force. As Alexander's army entered the pass, they were met with an onslaught from the Persians above. Boulders and arrows fell from the cliffs, and Persian soldiers attacked with spears and swords, taking advantage of the Greeks' inability to maneuver in the cramped space. The Macedonian phalanx, so effective on open battlefields, was all but useless in the Persian Gates. Alexander's forces were trapped, and their losses mounted as they struggled to hold their ground. For Alexander, this was a rare and dangerous setback. He had underestimated the strategic prowess of his opponent and found himself in a position where his army's survival was at risk. His men were demoralized and fatigued, trapped in a hostile mountain pass with no clear path forward or retreat. The situation was dire, and Alexander knew that only a bold and unconventional strategy could save them. Alexander's strategy, outsmarting the Persian defenses. Realizing that a direct assault was futile, Alexander withdrew his forces from the pass to regroup. He spent the night formulating a plan to outmaneuver Ariobarzanes. Alexander's knowledge of terrain and his ability to adapt quickly in the face of adversity proved invaluable. He ordered scouts to search for an alternate route over the mountains, one that could allow his forces to flank the Persian defenses and take Ariobarzanes by surprise. After an intensive search, his scouts discovered a rugged path that bypassed the Persian Gates and led to the rear of Ariobarzanes' position. This route was treacherous and would require his soldiers to endure a grueling march through rough, icy terrain. Despite the difficulties, Alexander seized the opportunity. He led a select group of his best troops on a nocturnal ascent through the mountains, using the cover of darkness to hide their movements from Persian scouts. The next morning, as the main Macedonian force launched a frontal assault on the Persian Gates to draw the defenders' attention, Alexander's elite detachment descended upon the Persians from behind. The Persians, caught off guard by this unexpected maneuver, were thrown into disarray. The once impenetrable stronghold became a chaotic battlefield as Alexander's men pressed the attack from both sides. Ariobarzanes and his forces fought bravely, but the surprise and the strength of Alexander's dual assault overwhelmed them. Many Persian soldiers were killed, and others were captured. Ariobarzanes himself reportedly fought to the end, preferring to die in battle rather than surrender to the Macedonian invaders. His heroic stand and ultimate sacrifice made him a legend in Persian history, celebrated as a patriot who defended his homeland against overwhelming odds. Aftermath and the road to Persepolis. The victory at the Persian gates opened the path to Persepolis for Alexander. His army, though bloodied and weary from the battle, now had direct access to the heart of Persia. Shortly after the battle, Alexander's forces entered Persepolis, where they were met with little resistance. The city, one of the richest and most magnificent in the ancient world, became the ultimate prize in Alexander's campaign against Persia. Alexander's capture of Persepolis was both a symbolic and strategic victory. He famously ordered the burning of the Persian royal palace, a controversial act that has been interpreted as revenge for the Persian sack of Athens during the Greco-Persian Wars. Others argue that it was a calculated political statement to demonstrate the fall of Persian power and Alexander's dominance over the former empire. Regardless of the motive, the burning of Persepolis marked a turning point in Alexander's campaign, signaling the end of the Achaemenid dynasty and the dawn of a new era. Legacy of the Battle of the Persian Gates. The Battle of the Persian Gates stands out as a defining moment in Alexander's career. It demonstrated his tactical flexibility and resilience in the face of unexpected challenges. The narrow escape from an ambush that nearly annihilated his army underscored the risks inherent in his campaign and highlighted his ability to think beyond traditional battlefield strategies. This battle reinforced Alexander's reputation as a fearless leader who could adapt to any situation, inspiring loyalty and respect among his troops. For the Persians, the battle became a symbol of resistance and heroism. Ariobarzanes' valiant defense against a vastly superior force earned him a place of honor in Persian history, remembered as a courageous defender of his people and his homeland. The Persian Gates would be remembered not just as a battle lost, but as a testament to Persian resilience and the power of strategic defense. In the grander scheme of history, the battle exemplified the clash between East and West, not only in terms of military conflict but also in the cultural exchange that followed. With the fall of the Persian Empire and Alexander's advance into Central Asia, Hellenistic culture began to spread through the territories he conquered, influencing everything from art and architecture to language and philosophy. The Persian Gates may have been a temporary setback, but it ultimately paved the way for a new era in which Greek and Persian cultures would blend, shaping the Hellenistic world that followed. The Battle of the Persian Gates remains a powerful chapter in the story of Alexander the Great, a reminder of his ambition, his adaptability, and, after the victory at the Persian Gates, Alexander's path to Persepolis lay wide open. Persepolis, the ceremonial heart of the Achaemenid Empire, symbolized the power and wealth of Persia. Its grand palaces, magnificent halls, and impressive fortifications made it one of the most remarkable cities of the ancient world. Alexander was acutely aware of the symbolic value of capturing Persepolis. By taking the city, he would not only complete his conquest of Persia but also strike a powerful psychological blow against his opponents, signaling the end of Persian dominance. Upon entering the city, Alexander and his troops were struck by its opulence. Persepolis was filled with vast treasures and artistic masterpieces, the accumulated wealth of generations of Persian kings. The Macedonian soldiers were awed by the splendor around them, but for Alexander, the capture of Persepolis was a moment for both celebration and contemplation. He had reached the pinnacle of his campaign against the Persian Empire, yet he knew that with such immense power came a great responsibility to his new subjects. The burning of Persepolis, a symbolic act or a misstep? One of the most debated events in Alexander's conquest was his decision to burn the royal palace of Persepolis. The reasons for this act remain shrouded in mystery, with historians offering multiple interpretations. Some believe it was an act of vengeance for the Persian invasion of Greece and the burning of Athens during the Greco-Persian Wars over a century earlier. By destroying the heart of Persian authority, Alexander might have intended to avenge the Greeks and symbolically demonstrate that the old Persian order was over. Others argue that the burning was a political maneuver to sever the Persian identity from its former imperial center, allowing Alexander to establish himself as the sole ruler. Some sources suggest that it may have been an impulsive decision, perhaps influenced by the Macedonian soldiers or even by a Persian courtesan named Thais, who allegedly encouraged Alexander to set the city ablaze in a moment of celebration. Whether premeditated or spontaneous, the burning of Persepolis had a profound impact on both Persian and Greek cultures, symbolizing the end of one era and the beginning of another. The cultural impact, the fusion of Greek and Persian ideals. With Persepolis in ruins, Alexander turned his focus to the broader goals of his campaign. Unlike conquerors who aimed merely to subjugate, Alexander sought to integrate Greek and Persian cultures, creating a unified empire where East and West would coexist. He began adopting Persian customs, dressing in Persian attire, and including Persians in his administration. To the shock of his Macedonian companions, he encouraged his men to marry Persian women, establishing family ties between Greek and Persian nobility. These actions were revolutionary for the time, signaling Alexander's commitment to a culturally blended empire.